How's it going? So today I want to give you a quick overview of the Neuro Desktop Editor for the Ultrawave Multiband Processor. So we're really excited about the Ultrawave. It's just a super powerful tool that gives you real granular control of your distortions and your tremolos. And there's just sort of endless sound possibilities in here. So the sounds that are going to be created in the Ultrawave editor are key to this pedal, and we can't wait to hear what everybody does with this thing. Now, just, to begin, if you're not into like sort of creating presets yourself, you can very easily go over to the cloud right over here. And when this video is published, there'll probably start to be Ultrawave presets in here, either in the community and definitely in the factory tab. And you can just easily click on those and they'll go right to your pedal. You can save them to the pedal, and that's the end of the story. You can start, using them in a band setting or whatever you want to do with it. But this video, we're focusing on creating sounds and just explaining what each of these little control blocks does. So rather than starting at the top, I'm going to start down here in the middle in the distortions block, because this is really the essence of this pedal. So multiband processing, what is that? Okay, so basically your guitar, bass, or keyboard signal goes into the pedal. The pedal splits it into multiple frequency bands. By splitting it into the multiple frequency bands, we can control each band individually. So that means I've selected for this particular sound, I've selected a 10-band frequency split right here at the top, the guitar, and I've used the number 5 distortion type, which is a diode positive only sound. Just a nice, rich 10-band distortion sound. So down here are my multiband drive and level controls. And this is where it really starts to get interesting, because each of these sliders controls the drive of a specific frequency band. So you can see I can boost my mids, for example. Let me try and... You can hear the effect that's having. So this is boosting the drive. And then if I move over here, I'm boosting the level of each frequency. So that's where it really starts to pop out when I sort of boost a drive and a level. So let me just, I'm going to play a chord and move these things around so you can hear what's going on. So, I mean, that's just me sliding stuff around, but you really get the idea of how you can just really sort of chisel your sound to be exactly what you need it to be. You can boost your mids or scoop your mids. It's a lot of control. And let's go back to the band splitting. There's a bunch of different band splitting options. You can see if I hit the 10 band for the bass, this little blue-green bar here, this shows you where the frequency splits are. So obviously the bass is, mostly the low end. As I move, if I select guitar, we move up towards the mids, and we've got a bunch of different 10-band options. Some of them, move over very high frequencies. And there's also some options that have the full spectrum. Okay, so I can select my band splitting options up here. Down here is where I select my distortion types. There's sort of basic distortion, which is kind of a tube overdrive sound. There's diodes, which is a dual rectifier kind of a sound. There's also something called foldback, which is a type of distortion that you hear in synthesizers. And this is really a unique sound. But let me show you. I've got a couple of presets. So, you know, I can do more traditional guitar sounds. But I can also do these cool octave sounds. So very non-traditional sound. There's also the fold over, which, like I said, is something that is usually used on synthesizers, but you can really get some very neat sounds with this thing. It's almost got this envelope follower synthesizer kind of sound to it. Yeah, lots of different options in here. Okay, so that is how the drive control works. But let's start at the top now. I'm going to go back to a more sort of traditional sound. So at the very top here, there is actually two separate control panels for each of the outputs. And you have two channels to choose from. By default, if this green link box is selected, any changes you make to channel 1 will also apply to channel 2. So it's more of a monophonic approach. But if you unlink the box, then you can make, you know, individual changes to channel 2. So you're basically getting a different sound coming out of output number 2 of your pedal. I've got something set up here ahead of time. I'm going to go to a preset, this big stereo spread. You can see as I move from channel 2 to channel 1, it changes my 10 band frequency splitting option. It also changes my distortion type. So I've got different distortions going to each output. So just a really wide sound as opposed to you know, a more traditional monophonic sound. Back to stereo. Okay, moving on. So these copy arrows. So if you want to move whatever you have going on in channel 1 over to channel 2, you can just hit this little right copy arrow, and that will copy all your settings from channel 1 to channel 2. Vice versa, if you're in channel 2 and you want to copy that to channel 1, you just hit this left arrow, and that will copy over. Over here are your routing options. So you just hit that drop down. You can use auto detect, which, you know, automatically detects which inputs and outputs you're using on the pedal and routes your signal appropriately. But you can also hardwire those things. So mono in, stereo out. If you have two inputs going in and two going out, stereo in, stereo out. You can also cascade channels. So this is like having two distortion pedals side by side on your board. So all the settings in channel 1 will just go into the settings in channel 2, just sort of in series. This is your on-off state, so that just is the same as hitting the foot switch on the pedal. Master controls. So these are the basically the same controls that are found on the knobs of the pedal. So you've got everything you would expect to find on the face of a drive pedal. You've got a drive control. So however you have your drive set down here, boosting this will boost all of them, you know, with the proper relationship that you've set up down here. So yeah, it's a master drive. Same goes for the level. There's an output level control. We have some EQing over here, bass, mid, and treble. That's all on the face of the pedal. And there's actually some parametric controls, so you can control where the center point of the frequency is that you're boosting or cutting. And there is a mix control, so you can mix in some of your dry guitar signal. Okay, morphing. I'll get into that in just a minute. Let's move on to the compressor. So the compressor is great because you can use it by itself if you want, but it also works beautifully in tandem with everything else. So this is a compressor expander. So in case you don't know, I mean, a compressor takes, you know, all your sounds and reduces the dynamic range. So the louds get quieter and the quieters get louder. It's just a tighter sound. You know, it's a lot of bass players use a compressor, funk guitar, sort of country guitar, big with compressors, but just super useful tool. Now an expander is kind of the opposite. So it increases the dynamic range of your signal so that the louds get louder and the quiets get quieter. Basically, a noise gate is a kind of expander. But let's just stick with the compressor. So it's got a great set of controls, just studio level controls here, and it's got this awesome little monitor, which I'll just explain quickly. So you'll see, let me just pull up a compressor preset. You can see as I play, that little ball moves across the screen. So as we move from left to right, this is your input level. So you can see that if I'm not playing, the ball's over here. If I hit a chord, it's going to move up to its maximum value. As you go from bottom to top, that is your output level. So it, you know, sort of stands to reason, like if you see this little audio path curve, as you put more volume in, when it gets to a certain point, you're not going to get that volume out. So let me just show you. If I turn down the ratio, that is a 1-to-1 ratio. So in other words, no compression. So it is going to output as much as you input. But this is the key to compression. So let me just explain these controls for anybody who doesn't really know. First, you've got your input gain. That's just how much signal you're pushing into the compressor. Next, you've got your threshold and ratio. These are the important ones. So the ratio controls how much gain reduction is applied after your guitar goes past a certain volume level. And you set that volume level with the threshold. So you can see if I move my threshold down, it's going to start compressing quicker. And as I move my ratio up, you get more compression. So you can see now when I play, it's not going to be any louder than where it is right there. So you can hear the compression. That's just that's too much compression. But just to give you an example, you know, I might want to ease up on it, get the threshold up a little bit, just so it can breathe a little more. But you still get that nice tight sound. Next is the attack and release. So the attack just controls how quickly, once your guitar signal goes past that threshold, how quickly it pulls it back into the, you know, the output level set by the ratio. Same with the release. As you sustain a note, as it drops past the threshold, that controls how quickly it will drop down to its normal level, or go silent. And then output gain. This is important because the nature of compression is to reduce the dynamic range. So you're going to get a little quieter. So you're going to want the output gain, which, you know, is also sometimes called makeup gain, to boost the signal back up. So you take your compressed signal, make that louder, and then you just get a nice, strong, consistent signal. And finally, there's the mix control. So you can mix in a little dry signal with your compressed signal. And over here, it's cool. You can put this compressor either before or after the distortion. And that can be very useful for a lot of different reasons. A lot of the sounds in the multi-wave are very sensitive to the input level of a signal. Like it changes the character the harder you pick. So it can be nice to put the compression after, so you get that sort of character change, but you don't get that super volume change. Another, you know, application, maybe you might want to put it before the distortion. This is nice for tremolo sounds because you get a nice steady level going to the tremolo. So you just, you know, the tremolos don't sort of waver too much. It's a nice strong tremolo sound. And finally is this soft knee control. This is nice. Let me just show you. I'm going to turn the soft knee off and crank up my ratio. And you can see you get that sharp angle right there. But if I turn on the soft knee, that sharp angle right at the threshold. But if I turn on the soft knee to say 12 dB, you can see that angle softens a little bit. So it's just a smoother sound. Sharp, smooth. Okay, so moving on from the compressor. We went over the distortions. Now let's get into the multiband tremolo, because this is another really great feature in this pedal. I've got a multiband tremolo preset here called Facets. And what multiband tremolo does is take your signal, which is split, in this case, into 10 different frequencies, takes each of those frequencies and starts the tremolo cycle at a different point. So you can imagine higher frequencies might be, you know, bouncing up while the lower frequencies are going down. So it just gives you a very interesting effect. It's kind of like, can be like, sort of like a sequencer or a phaser sometimes. But here, let me just show you. It's a great sound, right? Just very interesting. And here is my band phase offset. So here there are a bunch of different preset patterns. This is set to 3 straight. So the number in the front, like 4 right here, 2 and 3, you want to think about those numbers in relation to the time signature you're playing in. So 3 straight, that's great for, you know, if you're in a waltz time or 6/8, or maybe you're doing sort of a swing in 4/4 time. It's 1 2 3, 1 2 3. But then I can also move to a 4-beat pattern, and then you're in 4. 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. And that's 4 beats going up. Here's 4 beats going down. If you're somebody who likes to play in 5, you can do 5. It's getting a little wilder. But let's go back. So you can see you've got all different kinds of options here. Let's go back to a more straightforward 4. And now I want to show you how the LFO works in relation to this thing. So the LFO, one of my favorite things about this pedal. So I can set it to a straight sine wave. That's just a nice smooth sound. I've got my rate control. But I can also do, I've got my attack release. So this allows me to sort of create the shape of my LFO on my own. So if I was to crank up my attack and my release, I'm basically just getting a square wave. So just sharp, sharp edges. My on-time control controls how wide this is. So it's basically like how long it's on time. So you'll see as I turn up the on time, that shape gets wider. It also becomes a little less noticeable. You'll notice when I turn it down the on time, it becomes more like a sequencer. Watch. And I can just play around with this thing all day, messing with the attack and the release and the on time. Get a smoother. Yeah, a lot of fun. I've also got a ring mod. So what a ring mod does is crank up your LFO so fast that it creates a tone on its own. So basically it's going to create a tone, and you can use the rate to tune that tone. Usually I will, with a ring mod, if I'm in the key of E, I'll play an E on my guitar and kind of use the rate to tune it. So let me show you. Let me hit this. This is kind of a very sort of gnarly sound, but I love it. Okay, so that's tuned up. So you hear that? So I'm sort of soloing in the key of E, and it just, I love the beating that you get when you bend notes. So. Just want to get really wild, you can do this. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. But let's turn that off for now. Okay, what else? So there's also some great stereo controls over here. So you can hear that ping pong effect, but I can turn the phase offset down. And then I basically just get, like a normal sort of tremolo. But I've got a stereo rig, so why wouldn't I give it the full stereo treatment? So that is a straight ping pong, but this right here, this channel 1, channel 2 sync is cool. So if I hit 1 to 2, that means that the signal on my right side is going to go twice as fast as the signal on my left, so I get this. Slow it down. Slow it down a little bit. And you can see it can get pretty extreme. Let's go 4 to 1. Let's go 14 to 1. Huh? It's almost ring moddy. All right. Let's go back to 1 to 1. Okay. So as we move down, things get a little more basic. This is an equalizer. Yeah, you use it like a normal graphic equalizer. You can boost the highs, cut the lows, do whatever you want. There is also a single band tremolo. So if let me turn off the multi-band tremolo. You can do that right here. Just turn it off. And single band tremolo. I'll turn off the post. So that's just... normal tremolo. Let me set it to a sine wave. So yeah, normal tremolo, and I can put that either before or after the distortion or both. It's very nice. I can also, if I select envelope to volume, I can use this as kind of a volume swell down here with my envelope generator. Now the envelope generator does a lot of different things. It can be assigned to volume, in this case, like I'm doing here. I can also do things like you will hear as the note is louder, it will modulate faster, and as the note decays, it will slow down. Okay. Over here I've got things like balance, so you can see. Pretty easy to hear what that's doing. Over here, knob assign. Now I can use these controls to reassign the knobs on the pedal. So this is especially useful if you're, setting up some sort of tremolo LFO sounds. You might want to have your LFO rate right on your pedal so you can reach down and speed it up or slow it down. Or the LFO on time is nice to have control of for those sounds. So yeah, you can really customize the pedal for how you're going to use it in a live situation. And then finally down here at the bottom, we've got external control. So you can control up to 3 parameters at once. Each of these rows is a separate parameter. And I can select, if I've got one of my source audio expression pedals plugged directly into the control input, I would select this. If I am plugging my Ultrawave into a Neuro hub, which gives it MIDI capability, then I want to select Remote Expression Hub MIDI. But I've just got the expression plugged directly into the pedal. So you can see if I turn this on, I've got it set to the master drive. Let's set it to master level. So it's basically just a volume pedal now. But I can, set it to anything I want. I can set it to LFO speed, all kinds of stuff. Just lots of options. So that is it. I hope this was helpful, and can't wait to hear the sounds that everybody creates. And let's, make sure you publish those sounds because we all want to hear them. And let's have some fun and have a good day. All right, bye-bye.